Hey, Christine, we should be recording.
Great. Good day, everybody. Welcome to the July 20 Fire Service Membership Council Governing Committee meeting. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. Carl, can you please do a roll call?
Sure can. Chief Reed, I've got you. Tim Diehl, I've got you. Brian Adams, I saw you. Rick Boisfort, did you join? Okay. Chief Collins, I saw you. I have you too. Thanks. Chief Desrochers, I'm sorry, Marshal Desrochers will not be with us today due to the ongoing emergency flood situation in Vermont, so he sends his regrets. Chief Hyde, I've got you. Ed Kaminsky, I saw you join. Chief King, got you. Marshal Lund, I think I saw you just come in. Marshal Medina, did I see you? Yep, there you are. Got it. And Marshal Nelson, I saw you on here too.
Yep. Good afternoon, everybody.
Nicolello has already taken a couple swipes at me early.
Just out of love, man. Just out of love.
I know. Tina, are you with us from Canadian? No. And Marshal Toomey, saw you come on.
Yep, here.
Chief Wassom, I got you as well. So let's see here. Chief Metz will not be with us today, I believe, for travel reasons to the ICC board meeting that's in Ohio. And Tim Schmitz, are you on?
Yes, I just got on, Carl.
Awesome guy, yeah. Chief Reed, I believe we have a quorum with only a few missing today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Welcome, everybody. I hope everyone is doing well this summer day. I would like to move on our agenda for our guest presentation. I would like to introduce Adam Sayler. Sorry, Sayler. Apologies.
Yeah, Sayler.
Sayler, sorry. It just hasn't looked. Adam Sayler and Sharon McNabb that are going to present to us about the National Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association. So I will turn it over to both of you. Welcome and thank you for being here, and take it away.
Thank you so much. My name is Sharon McNabb. I'm the founder of the Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association. Adam is partnering with us on the Code Standards and Regulations Work Group. I'm going to pass it over to him to talk about carbon monoxide safety and the work that we're doing, giving you a quick update on the new research that is available now for carbon monoxide. And then, Adam, if that's all right with you, I will come back and discuss the coalition and how you can get involved.
Yeah, sounds good. So good morning, everybody. So I appreciate the opportunity to kind of get this information out to you guys today. I've been kind of involved just, I guess, in the background with this, the Fire Service Membership Committee for several months. Got to see a lot of value in it, and just really appreciate the information that's being put out. So I just kind of want to use, I guess, my position and in the fire service community and influence to pass along some of this information. Before I start, I do want to say I am on duty today, so if for some reason tones drop, I'll be headed out the door, but Sharon can definitely pick up where I left off. So I'm going to do my best here to share the NCOAA website. I'm not familiar with Teams at all, so hopefully this is going to work. Okay, everybody can see that okay, I'm assuming?
Yes, we can.
All right, so I'm not going to take a lot of time today. Like I said, the biggest thing I want to do today, just as my part on the Codes and Standards Committee, is to bring this information to the Fire Service Council, part of the ICC, and it's in essence because that's the codes and standards are what we are doing and dealing with every day. So as it appears, this is the NCOAA website for the National Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association, and I'm just going to kind of go through some of this. Obviously, you guys can take a look at this at your leisure after this if you want to. But essentially, we'll run through the about. So the National Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association is a nonpartisan grassroots civic-minded organization that's focused on eradicating carbon monoxide poisoning and helping carbon monoxide poisoning survivors recover to lead happy, healthy, and productive lives. The mission of the NCOAA is to drive a comprehensive conversation on the public health crisis of chronic and acute carbon monoxide poisoning. So where I think the NCOAA kind of diverts and is different from traditional carbon monoxide safety and education is that there's a really strong focus on bringing codes and standards and awareness up to the level of basically broadening it. So, right, we know carbon monoxide is poisonous. We know it's bad. We know we have fuel-fired appliances everywhere in and around us, and it's important that we're protected from that. But what's missing in the broad scope of this is the I guess I don't know how to really describe it or say it would be I don't want to say a minor poisoning, but the fact that we have people living in houses, working in occupancies every day with constant low levels of carbon monoxide that are actively being poisoned, and it's not to a lethal level, but it's to a level that really impacts their daily life, their health, and just everything they do. So one of the goals of the NCOAA is to really bring about the awareness that carbon monoxide is around us all the time, even if you're not aware of it. And so just this carbon monoxide appliance, there's 50,000 annual ER visits due to carbon monoxide, 1,200 annual deaths. Only 14% of families in the US have a properly functioning carbon monoxide alarm. And obviously children are more likely to be poisoned by carbon monoxide in their daycare and their school. Now, one of the things that has been a benefit, I don't know where everybody is at with their codes right now, the state of Alaska, and then my municipality, the city of Seward, Alaska, this year adopted the 2021 codes. And something that was really beneficial to that is in the 2021 IFC now, there is a requirement for carbon monoxide alarms to be in your institutional occupancies as well as educational occupancies where it complies with code that those fuel-fired appliances are in place. My particular municipality doesn't adopt the existing building code, but in this case, it was one of those places we were still able to catch it through the fire code, and that requiring these institutional occupancies and educational occupancies now have to be required, even outside of adopting the existing building code, to have the alarms in place, which is huge. And so I want to move on to the Safety Coalition. So the Safety Coalition is essentially a coalition that's broken up into several groups that are all working together to come toward the common goal of the NCOAA. So as a part of that, we have an advisory committee, we have a science and innovation committee, emergency and trade response, code standards and regulations, and data and surveillance. So I know we have a broad group of people represented here. And basically right now, we just need people to come on board. So you can, if you do, what you'll notice when you go all the way to the top of the website, if you click on the coalition here down to the Safety Coalition, that's actually going to take you to a separate web page, and it will break down each one of these groups, what they're responsible for, and how you can be involved. And then when you go in there, you can actually go in there and fill out an application to serve on one of these boards. So I know for me, you know, I guess I've been in the fire service since 2001, and also in law enforcement. I worked in law enforcement and retired back in 2019. So I'm kind of on my second career with being a fire building inspector and a fire investigator for our local fire department. So when I came on board as a co-chair of the Codes and Standards, the Codes and Standards are somewhat new to me. I've only been in just a few years here dealing with fire code. So I don't know, sometimes I think the emergency trade and response might be a better fit, but I know for a lot of you on board with the call now that are involved, you know, in the trade, firefighters, fire chiefs, fire marshals, things like that. We could just use you guys really to strengthen these groups and have this experience and input as far as what we're needing to basically further, I guess, what you would call our agenda. We have the exact same purpose as fire. You know, everybody thinks in the fire service that we just respond to calls and put out fires. those of us that have been in it for a long time know that our actual primary purpose is education and prevention. Same thing with the NCOAA. We want to put the word out and really get to the point to where we come up to the next section here. So the survivor section on the NCOAA has incredible resources. So if you're a responder that's responding to a suspected CO poisoning event, this is a humongous resource, not only that you can use as a leader within your departments, if you're a line level firefighter or officer responding to a scene. This is a great place to educate yourself, educate your people, and it's also a good place to point victim towards healthcare providers and things like that. So I think that's kind of a like really big, quick, broad view of everything that I just really wanted to cover. I think I could put it over to Sharon now. Anybody that has any questions, this is her bread and butter. She's the founder. This is her day in, day out, what she puts her heart and soul into, and she knows it all very well. So if there's any questions, I'd open it up to now. And then aside from this, if anybody wants to be involved in a group, we'd be happy to get our contact information out there. You can contact either one of us to come on board and be a part.
Okay. Are you ready for some?
You have your hand up.
You got some questions. So you mentioned in the beginning that there was some new research, and a couple of things. I've got a few questions here. So what new research have you got that will be available for the next code cycle?
Great question. So a lot of the data that we have been using to put together our CO safety messaging is really linked to old research. And I mean a century old. Our fire alarm, our home CO alarms are designed to a 10% COHB. This 1920s research showed that any levels of CO below 10% COHB or 70 parts per million is unharmful, not harmful to humans. We know that is not true anymore. And that's why the UL task force is investigating lowering our home alarm thresholds. The new research shows that any amount of CO can be harmful, and levels as low as 2 parts per million can cause cardiac ischemia, meaning irregular heartbeats, sweating, palpitations, lack of oxygen, a number of very harmful health effects as low as 2 parts per million. And so the other issue is that, the codes and standards have been designed around life safety. They haven't been designed around injury prevention. And there are a number of diseases that are either exacerbated or caused by low-level carbon monoxide poisoning, migraines, fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, depression, Parkinson's, and even Alzheimer's can be caused by low-level CO poisoning that goes on underneath our home alarm thresholds. I myself am a carbon monoxide poisoning survivor. I moved into what I thought was my dream home. I did everything I thought I was supposed to do. I had the building inspected. I bought a CO alarm. I had my appliances inspected by HVAC professionals. I even went to the best doctors. 11 years later, I'm misdiagnosed with epilepsy, COPD, early onset Alzheimer's, and a number of other different diseases, all from low-level leaks in my home over the course of 11 years. During those 11 years, firefighters were inside my home checking my daughter because my 18-year-old daughter, who's in perfect health, thought she was having a heart attack. And those firefighters who came into my home did not have low-level CO detection, and it wasn't caught by my CO alarm. So they were in and out of my home without catching the CO. And that is the reason why we are trying to educate, because the outdated information has not made it to the appropriate level, to the boots on the ground that is protecting our citizens. And thank you so much for allowing me to be here today to share this messaging.
Okay, so you were talking about the properly installed detectors. Are you saying that the commercially available detectors we have now are really set too high?
They are set for life safety only. They alarm with enough time theoretically to get your family out of the home with their life. They are not designed to prevent injury.
So they're not set for chronic exposure, in other words.
Correct.
Okay. Have you teamed at all with industrial hygienists? Because normally when I was evaluating buildings for a GSA, we went with an industrial hygienist. The industrial hygienist was looking for Legionnaire's disease and other things like that. But this being a chronic exposure seems to be within the realm of industrial hygiene. So have you teamed with them, with those types of professionals?
Everett, thank you so much for that question. We are, as Adam mentioned, a grassroots organization. We're 8 years old. We have accomplished all of our work on less than $50,000 annually. I have volunteered my time for the last 8 years. So really, the way that we have been able to be successful is through partnerships. And at this particular time, if you have those contacts, we would love to be able to reach out to them and include them in this work, because it sounds like a perfect fit.
Well, then likewise, if there's a sentiment or belief that this carbon monoxide detectors commercially available are not quite set to the level to prevent chronic exposures, have you been working with the standards organizations to work on changing the thresholds of testing?
Another
And
great
yeah,
question.
because we have Mr. UL on the line that is nodding a little bit now.
The UL task force, with the help of NFPA research, are in the process of putting a project together to evaluate lowering those alarm thresholds. So that's been about 7 years in the works, and it looks like that project may be completed before the end of the year.
Okay, I seem to recall, did you give testimony at the last hearing? I seem to I think you were there when, and there was a lengthy testimony and then a lengthy rebuttal by Sarah on the floor. Is that right? So if you could remind me what your code proposal was at that time, because I'm pretty sure that you'll be putting it forward again for the 2027.
Well, actually, we did put a proposal before the ICC code hearing council, and it was a proposal that would require CO alarm. It would allow, let me just think about how I want to say that. The existing building codes would mirror the new building codes.
So in other words, you were campaigning for a retroactive requirement.
Correct. And the hearing, we were denied. However, FCAC worked with us to rewrite the way that the code was submitted. And the second hearing, it was approved, and I believe it will be part of the 2024 ICC code.
Okay.
So yeah, Brian, I'm sorry, Beth mentioned that it's required in all occupancies, new and existing for 2024.
How achievable that's a lot of detectors.
Some people think based on research, prevalence studies, that 1 out of 6 homes are poisoning its occupants with low-level CO. And if you think about how many people in the US are using carbon fuel to inside their homes, it's just less than 70%. And these are all mechanical devices. And we all know, I'm an engineer. You guys have been around this a long time. We all know that mechanical appliances and venting eventually will fail. It's odorless, colorless, tasteless. And when people breathe it, it causes health issues that can cause just about everything. It's very, very difficult for a doctor to diagnose CO poisoning because it takes a very specific blood test that only 65% of labs have capability of doing, and it all has to be done within 4 hours of the exposure, or else it will show up as a false negative. The doctor prescribes something for whatever symptom I'm complaining of, rules out carbon monoxide, sends me home to continue being poisoned, and wait for the next symptom to show up. So 1 in 6 homes might not be a bad estimate. And think about the cost impact to society of all of those illnesses that are being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Without a detector, it's impossible to know if CO is poisoning its occupants.
Okay, with that said, can you describe a little bit about what a good carbon monoxide survey would be in a facility? Full disclosure, I was asked to do a survey of a resort after there was some CO poisonings at an adjacent location. So, going on Amazon, I bought a CO detector, went around and sniffed it with the whatever was conditioned. Did I, in your view, do a thorough enough survey?
And that is a great question. And the honest answer is carbon monoxide is complicated. We're putting together, with the help of National Fallen Firefighter Foundation and a number of other different training organizations, a CO safety training module on the Fire Hero Learning Network. That will be the basics of CO. After that, if grants are available, we will do a training module on inspection. The issue with inspection is it depends a lot on use. For example, every single appliance that you have to test has to be fired up. With a gas stove, for example, the oven as well as the burners need to be gassed up. Depending upon the size of the pot that's on the stove will determine how much CO is produced. Stepping back a moment, carbon monoxide is produced every time carbon fuel is burned. There is no pure burn, only theoretical on paper. That's why we vent to the outside. So the amount of oxygen per the amount of fuel depends on how much carbon monoxide is generated. So the pot on the burner will have an impact on the amount of carbon monoxide generated. Also, when we vent to the outside, the the direction of the wind, the amount of the wind, whether or not there's a bird's nest, whether or not there's a blockage, all of those items will determine the level of the carbon monoxide in the building. It's not just for buildings, though. Think about car crashes. I don't know how many carbon monoxide deaths have happened from leaks into the cabin of a vehicle. My sister drives a semi truck, and she literally had a carbon monoxide leak from the exhaust of her semi into the cabin. Boats, RVs. It is complicated, and it's an amazing question. And that's why we need to partner in order to create these training modules so that people have the right information when they go into a building
Okay, I have
to
a
inspect.
couple more scenarios I'd like to for you to comment on. So, as you know, there is one particular chain of resorts that is very much behind carbon monoxide detection, but they're detractors. And it's, okay, so I survey a resort, and they've got the carbon monoxide in the boiler rooms, big, enormous boiler rooms, many millions of BTU per hour there. I think that they're very valid. Then they have them over all the cooking appliances in the service areas of all the restaurants, food service areas, and in the laundry. So you go to the first food service area, their carbon monoxide production, you say is going to depend on what pot they have to be cooking on a stove that particular day. So the testing the detectors was difficult. We had to put saran wrap over the detector, then use a special gas that's EST or somebody sells that's very lightweight with the sample gas. Never came up with any, well, we proved the detectors work, but surveying, we never came up with anything. So the detractors say, well, the airflow in the kitchen is so high, you're never going to get any CO happening. Another scenario that I have is that some of the detectors manufactured by Siemens are like a triple. They detect CO, smoke, and heat. Are those? And we put those in tunnels, and the detractors for that say, well, the CO is a light molecule, so it never floats to the top of the tunnel anyway. So having CO detection up there doesn't really do anything. I know I've described like 3 or 4 scenarios. I'd like to just hear your comments on that.
So just quickly, carbon monoxide is about the same molecular weight as air, slightly lighter, but it mixes freely with the air in a room or a tunnel. And so whereas smoke alarms work best if they're on a ceiling, CO alarms work fine anywhere in the room as long as there's appropriate airflow. So keeping them out of the corners is the only real requirement. The airflow in a kitchen, yes, if there's a high enough airflow, it will, and it's pulling from fresh air, it will refresh the room at an appropriate rates, depending upon the level of CO and depending upon the level of airflow.
Well, anyone else? And I'll release you for a while. Now we've got a full agenda, so.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. I don't see any other hands raised. I believe this was the, oh, Carl, you have your hand.
I do. All I wanted to do is to let the rest of the group know, I really appreciate Adam and Sharon coming on. This is not the first time that Sharon and I have worked together. I'm very proud to report that ICC has been a pretty significant contributor to the activities of the NCOAA over the last a year and a half, 2 years now, and working with Sharon as a member of her advisory committee for this group has been incredibly rewarding and eye-opening. And I think we've done a lot to be able to help recruit members like Adam. I believe Adam answered up to an email advertisement that I put out to this group looking for a co-chair of the Code Standards and Regulations work group that Sharon has set up as part of the coalition. So thank you for raising your hand and joining, Adam. And it looks like there's great momentum coming forward on this process. Also very much proud to report, and maybe Sharon, you can add a little bit about some of the highlights coming up for the summit this year. Sharon's organization is going to be sponsoring a CO safety summit that you may see kind of rotating on the screen here right now as part of the website, but they'll be co-located with the National Association of State Fire Marshals here later this month, and doing a first ever CO safety summit. So Sharon, I'm turn it over to you for maybe some of the details there, and thanks so much for the opportunity to contribute to this movement.
Thank you, Carl. We really couldn't do this work without you. So thank you. One request that I have real quick is we are in great need of a few people to help us with code development. And we are we research carbon monoxide. We're the carbon monoxide experts, but we're not the codes or standards development experts. We need help in those areas. And if you're willing to help us do the work, we would greatly appreciate it. There's one in particular that I'm thinking of. We meet about once a month. And if you have a couple hours a month, please let me know. Put your hand up. It is, or send me an email. It's really standards development, and it's really only a couple hours a month. But to Carl's point, we're really excited about this CO Safety Summit. This has been a long time in coming, and our friends at the National Association of State Fire Marshals really stepped up and allowed this to come to fruition. So the summit will be held July 31st through August 2nd. We are breaking up the summit into 4 particular sessions: emergency and trade response. And so the Monday afternoon will all be about emergency and our trades responding to CO issues. We will have 6 people from the UK join our summit. 2 are from the UK Fire Service, Bryn Mills and Emma Fraser. They'll be talking about CO safety in the US as well as in the fire service. And then we'll talk about the role of detection and prevention. Then we move on to Tuesday. We will introduce the science and technology work group. And then in the afternoon, the code standards and regulation. The morning will all be about medical and technology. So the CO researchers from the UK will be talking about how CO affects the human body and how there are vulnerable groups. So as a healthy adult, we are less vulnerable to, say, an infant or a child or an elderly person with underlying health conditions. But the very most vulnerable part of our population is the unborn. They hold carbon monoxide in their blood twice as long as their mothers, and at levels twice as high as their mothers. And with their developing situation, that CO can wreak havoc on that unborn child. So our friends in the UK will be doing presentations on those vulnerable groups. And then Thursday afternoon, we'll break into our code standards and regulation session. Kelly is on the line, and he stepped up to help talk about the codes development process, and Ken Boyce from UL will talk about standards. And then we'll have a couple others a couple other CO poisoning survivors talk who were instrumental in getting code changes in their states. And then we'll have a couple of state fire marshals and speak about what states can do to protect CO in their communities. And last but not least, data surveillance. Because we did talk about a little bit about how CO is going underreported. And then last but not least, we're going to break up into roundtables, and we'll be working on turning awareness into action. These are, when we come out of this roundtable workshop, we expect to have some actionable items that each of the work groups can begin working on. So really excited about this opportunity. It's been a long time in coming. And last but not least, I'd like to add that we are really trying to get these sessions recorded so we can put them online and available for all. So the summit is about 10 days away, and we don't have a great plan yet. So if anybody has experience with recording these types of sessions in a low, no cost kind of way, please reach out to me and let me know. Would greatly appreciate that as well.
Okay, can you just give your email address, or is it available to us somehow?
Yeah, I believe Carl put it in the chat.
Okay.
And it's also available on our website, www.ncoaa.us.
Adam, your hand is raised.
Yeah, Carl and Sharon covered it. I was just going to remind everybody about the safety summit coming up. The other thing I want to do is those of you that are going to be able to make that, just please take the opportunity to network and get to know everybody and start to share ideas. I know when it comes to codes and implementing codes and getting codes put into place, in my experience, especially at the state level, when everybody kind of comes together and has the same ideas, we have a lot better chance of those codes getting passed and actually getting put into place. So yeah, just please take the opportunity to network. NCOAA is active on some social media too. So, if you're on LinkedIn and stuff like that, yeah, just help us spread the word. When you see that stuff, share it so we can get the information out and start to get people healthy and just get to the point where this becomes a non-issue.
Thank you, Adam. We believe that carbon monoxide is 100% preventable.
Any other questions for Sharon or Adam? Yes, Nate. Nate, your hand is raised.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this format. Usually I'm using the Zoom. Just had some input I wanted to make. At Catholic, we had tried to get ahead of the code process, and basically what we did was prioritize residence halls. And because our setup is such that most of the fuel bearing equipment is located in mechanical rooms. So we installed carbon monoxide detectors in all of our mechanical rooms. And so far that has been a non-issue with the local departments, the building department and the fire department. So I'm just wondering what you guys' take is on that and how you're handling this transition.
Thank you. If you could do me a favor and rephrase the question about this condition. Is it CO alarms in mechanical rooms?
Correct, it is.
Are you asking if that's enough?
Yes, basically.
I think that's what you're getting at. And I was also thinking that the life of a smoke detector is 10 years. So every 10 years, they should be getting replaced. And well, I put in the combination CO smoke detectors, so within the next 10 years, they would be getting switched out for detectors with a lower threshold. Is that right?
If we have our druthers. Yeah, so to answer your question, CO alarms in mechanical rooms, absolutely. There are a couple of other options. You could have detection systems that are all connected and go to a control center. That's obviously very effective. We also believe that your mechanical facilities managers should always carry CO detection that goes down to 0 to identify early leaks. There have been so many reports of people going to the doctor repeatedly prior to the CO alarms going off. And if you can catch the CO leak early, that's always better. The other item that I would suggest is keeping a log of the CO alarms, right? When they were installed, a lot of people write the dates on the outside. That's effective, but if you could keep a log and stay ahead of the curve, that's very good as well.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I'll check with our facilities group tomorrow, see what we can do in that regard. Detectors are a simple and immediate indicator of what's going on in the buildings.
Absolutely. And if you go on to our website, we should have a flyer in under our resource page called Protect the Protectors. And this is a campaign that we're running with 2 manufacturers. One is Crocon, and they're offering extremely good pricing on these low-level CO detectors. I believe it's $79. I don't think you're going to be able to find one of these for cheaper. So they are partnering with us to extend that very good price to the fire service, i.e. Protect the Protectors campaign. The other device on that flyer is a breath detector. As I mentioned earlier, CO detection, CO poisoning is extremely difficult to diagnose. It has to be done through a very invasive blood test, not the type of blood test you get at the doctor every year, a very invasive blood test. And it all has to be done within 4 hours. This is a brand new FDA approved device. If you contact the manufacturer via our Protect the Protector flyers, it's available for less than $600. It could be used in the field, and it could also be used in rehab on your firefighters after an event. What it does is carbon monoxide attaches to your blood. If someone holds their breath for 15 seconds, it should equalize the CO in the blood and the CO in the lungs. So when you blow into this device, it will automatically detect the level of CO in your blood. That resource should be available on our website. I'll check after we get off. If it's not, then I'll forward it to Carl and he could send it out to the group. If that's okay, Carl.
You bet. Glad to do it.
Any other questions for Adam and Sharon? Seeing none. Sharon and Adam, thank you so much for your time. This was a really great discussion. I think it's something that we don't talk about a lot. So I appreciate the association's efforts and all that you are doing, and hopefully we can partner across the country doing this. So thank you again for your time and your information.
Thank you, Christine. Appreciate you all having us and the great questions.
Great. We're good for that. Good and many.
Excellent.
Great. All right. Thank you. We're going to move on to the agenda. For opening remarks, any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing and seeing none. Next is approval of the minutes. I'm looking for a motion to approve the June 15th meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Great. If I just
Aye.
one point of, oh, great, thank you. Motion passes. Oh, perfect. Was just going to ask to have that changed over. Okay, so we're going to go into our work group updates. Member engagement, Brian.
Yeah, hi, everybody. No, great presentation. I appreciate Sharon and Adam. Adam reaching out after last month's meeting and coming on to speak to the group. Just a quick membership engagement update. We had our group meeting Tuesday of this week. Have several speakers lined up for the next several months. Obviously, looks like Carl just sent out the update earlier with regard to August meeting, and that looks like that got canceled. But so September, October, November, we have several speakers kind of lined up. It's just a matter of putting them in the queue. I can't say who's going to be where yet, but several topics, both wild and urban interface, potentially some artificial intelligence, and how it's impacting the codes, and some other speakers. So some pretty good things lined up. Other things that we're working on is further membership engagement and identifying ways that we can reach different membership groups more at the local level. So we do a really good job of getting information out, kind of the state organizations and things like that. So we're going to work on drilling down and trying to get some information out kind of to the boots on the ground, and pushing some of that out, working with Kelly's public awareness group and some of the other work groups as we move through. If anyone is interested in the member engagement work group, our next meeting will be August the 15th at 2:00 Eastern. That's all I have.
Great, thank you very much. Emerging issues and trends. Michael Desrochers couldn't be here, as Carl mentioned before. There is no report to offer this meeting. Next is public awareness. Kelly.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We had our meeting, I think 2 weeks ago, and we were working on a draft document for micromobility safety, and with a concentration on not charging your devices near egress locations so people can get out of rooms or buildings. And secondly, the listing requirements for those devices. So that has gone through the draft process, and we've kind of looked that over and worked it. It's been submitted to Carl. That's in your email queue, Carl. And we're working on right now Fire Prevention Week as we speak. And so we'll have a document out for that particular subject, hopefully in the next 30 days or so, in preparation for this fall's program. We always welcome new members. Unfortunately, I don't have the date in front of me with our next meeting date, but we always encourage more people, more input, the better products I think we get to write in the process. And that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Training and education, Mark.
Mark put in the chat that he had to jump off.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say I don't see his name now. All righty. Moving on the agenda, reports from officers and liaisons. Director Metz couldn't be here, as Carl mentioned, in preparation for his board meeting this weekend in Ohio. And I don't see any other directors on the call today. I don't have anything else to report other than what is otherwise going to be discussed. And the next would be report from the Vice Chair, Tim Diehl.
Good afternoon, everybody, and morning. I keep forgetting about the West Coast people. Real quick, real brief. Had a couple meetings, but with building membership, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But the next continuity and outreach meeting that I want to kind of go over and get prepared for is going to be August 9th. A couple topics that they're going to be on there. And I know there were in discussions also with the building membership about maybe having a joint meeting between the two branches. So stay attuned for those possibilities. And that's all I got right now.
Great, thank you very much. Report from the staff liaison, Carl.
Hello, everybody. Good to be back. So just a couple of quick updates here, and you'll hear these a couple of these dates continuously over the next couple of months as well. But first and foremost, I'll be headed out to Ohio for the ICC Board of Directors meeting. I'll be leaving tomorrow, and then the board meets on Saturday. As I've previously reported to the group, we had the opportunity as the FSMC to brief the Board of Directors back during their meeting in Tampa, which was their last meeting, on the issue of lithium ion batteries, or just batteries and energy storage systems. So this will be the kind of the next installment of that work. What will be on the agenda will be a couple of things. One, just an administrative note, we do have a new member that's been proposed to the governing committee of the FSMC from the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and that'll be on the board's consent agenda. So we should have a new member joining us from the New England division here at next month's meeting, hopefully. But more importantly, beyond the administrative pieces on the lithium ion battery, or battery and energy storage system piece, is that we'll have Chief Mike O'Brien, we'll have Sean DeCrane from the IAFF, and we'll have Kevin Selmeyer from NASFM. Kevin is the state fire marshal in Michigan, and they will all three be briefing the board in an expanded format of about 45 minutes. They'll be doing about a 30-minute briefing detailing some of the current day issues for not just fire officials, but building code officials and code officials writ large across our organization, and why the issue of batteries and energy storage systems is important, and some of the important changes that will be coming to the codes, and what we should be doing as an organization given this new reality of batteries and energy storage. So they'll be presenting in front of the board. There will be a few updates offered by Vice President Tom and his group on the Council Policy 7, I believe it is, just to make a couple of minor changes to how ad hoc committees and other committees are formed and managed and governed by the board in response to this issue. And then the big piece will be an agenda item for the board to consider to stand up and basically charge an ad hoc committee on batteries and energy storage systems, and then authorize that group to be stood up and have a its purpose and all the other organizational components that go along with that. So it's going to be a busy board meeting for topics of interest to this group, but I think really congratulations and an important thank you to this group for raising this issue and making it important for the entire ICC enterprise. So in addition to that, I'll just kind of brief you on our GR monthly update and put that in the chat as well. There's a couple of important dates coming up in that. And let me just drop this in the chat really quick, so maybe you can follow along with it if you so choose. So Thursday, August 31st is the deadline for early bird registrations for the ICC annual conference. For our governing committee members, you should have received and registered already using your complimentary registration. And I believe it's, again, as customary, 2 nights will be underwritten for expenses for that trip for our governing committee members. And if you need to kind of go beyond that, just let me know one-on-one, and I'll be glad to facilitate what you need for your travel needs. Friday, September 8th, this is for the whole group. This is a voter validation deadline coming up for voting at the annual business meeting. So if you're an ICC member or member of an organization that's an ICC member, more importantly, you'll have to validate your voters in order to vote in October at the ABM. So Friday, September 8th will be that deadline, and we'll bring that back up again. Also, a couple other little things here. There are, some new pieces from FEMA that are out that you'll see in that report. There's building safety leadership experience, which was kind of formerly known as our board shadow program. That's been advertised, and the deadline to apply has now passed, but I wanted to let you know that that's kind of been rebranded, and it's out there. Couple other quick things. Let's see. There's some information for chapter leaders and things like that. So anyway, that is really the kind of the big pieces that are out there that you should know about, and just take a look at that report. And that's really kind of all that I've got for right now, Christine, unless there are any questions.
Any questions for Carl? Great. Thank you very much, Carl, for jumping in with both feet first morning back after a well-deserved vacation. So thank you. All right, moving on to officers and liaisons. Building Membership Council, Tom Allen, do you have a report from BMC for us?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. We met last week, July 12th, from 3 to 4:30. Of course, we got most of the same information you got today from Bill Nash that Carl got. Our community and outreach subcommittee's next meeting is August 9th. And that's the one that I believe you will have people on that are working on analyzing all of the charters for all of the membership councils, with an eye to see about kind of standardizing them a bit more with our specific things that we need for each council. So I know they're working on that, and they're using a software that I thought was really interesting that I hadn't seen before. It's the Monday Work Management System, and it seemed to be working real well for them to keep track of moving the project forward. Raising the profile also met. They're planning on education at the ABM, a 90-minute session, and working on succession planning, team building with the community, and recruiting for building department teams. So our practices and innovation subcommittee is working on their vision mission statement, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of participation with that. So they are looking for some additional people to help out with that one. And our next report will be Wednesday, September 13th at 3.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Next is Continuity and Outreach Subcommittee, Tim Diehl.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, we've said the next meeting is July. Tom mentioned the software, the Monday software. Yes, we are actually trying to use that. That is going to probably replace the Excel matrix. The benefit to this software is that it's searchable, plus we can organize it much better. So we are in the process of taking all those topics that were kind of spread out amongst all the membership councils and consolidating them into more practical comments and topics so that they'll be a little bit more easily searched. The nice benefit to that also is that you will be able to download or export those projects or those folders in an Excel spreadsheet if you want to, so that you can have that information later on. But that is one of the big items that we are looking at and moving forward with.
Great, thank you very much. Global Membership Council, Rockman couldn't be here today. He also said that they didn't have a report. So we'll see him at a future meeting. No ongoing business, a couple of new business items. A status of the Innovation and Code Administration Award update, Tim Diehl.
Yeah, as was discussed in the building membership, and I've had a couple other meetings with their leadership. Both the membership councils have kind of agreed that this year we're not going to award the Innovation Award. we all know the different reasons for that. However, what we were going to do and what we would like to do and what I'm calling for now is I need a couple of the governing council members who would like to serve on a innovation committee to review the innovation award with the building membership. As Tom mentioned, best practices in innovation, that committee is going to be their point person. So I'm going to throw something on Carl's plate that if you're interested, I'd like to have two people. Please email Carl and myself so that I can forward the information over to the building membership, and so that you can all kind of coordinate and start meeting to discuss the overall award itself and any changes, updates, possibilities, whatever will be there. You're mute, Christine.
Thank you. Carl, your hand is up.
Tim, I just asked the governing committee members right now, it might be a little bit easier if a couple of folks could just raise their hand using the raise hand feature. I'm monitoring that in the participants and would be glad to just send those folks over to you. So I see Kelly Nicolello raised his hand. Do we have another taker? Ed Kaminsky, awesome. And then is that what you need is 2, or do you need an alternate as well?
No, 2 should be fine. We should be good with 2.
All right, Kelly and Ed, thank you. And I'll connect everybody by email here in a moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next item. As we brought to the group before, there was a project being undergoing to review all the membership council charters. We have Allison Cook from the Emerging Leaders Membership Council here who has been spearheading this project to give us a bit more of an update and some more information. So welcome, Allison. Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for letting me take up some of your time today. So since the meeting in Tampa, this has moved under the Building Membership Council as part of their continuity and outreach effort, like Tim mentioned. Essentially, this covers all the membership councils, and so it felt like it was more appropriate to shift that over there where we already have this vehicle for working with everyone. Over the course of 3 or 4 meetings, we had representatives from every membership council, including, thank you so much, Tim, for representing Fire. And I know Carl was able to make one of the meetings to talk about where the charters are at now. So for folks who maybe aren't as familiar as some of the governing committees have been, every membership council has a charter, and they've all gotten a little different. There are some charters that haven't really been changed or updated since 2013. And there are other charters that underwent like a number of changes. And what that means is some things that maybe aren't particularly different between membership councils, like how do you handle, say, non-participation, have gotten very different and somewhat complicated or convoluted for folks. So where we're at this moment is that group of representatives from each council met, and we created a basic one-pager that said at a 30,000 foot level, here's where we think we are with the charters, here's where we think there's some areas for improvements. And what we're hoping is that will be part of a larger package that goes to the board meeting this July that I believe Whitney will be presenting for generally the membership councils. I know that the chairs and vice chairs have met a couple of times. I know a number of the governing committees have provided some feedback on where membership councils are at. And so this is going forward as part of that, where we have some thoughts on, hey, there's opportunities to talk about how the governing committees are structured and get consistency there. Like some include how to appoint vacant seats, and that's very different between membership councils, as well as making sure that things that are unique to each charter, each membership council, stay there and we maintain that. One of the things that's been really great to look at this with like Fire Membership Council, because I know you have some policies and some MOUs about participation and representation on your council, for example, is that some of that isn't even covered in the charter. So the good news for us from like this review is that I think a number of things that keep councils unique that are special to them are covered in other areas, and we won't be changing or looking at that. And I think there are a lot of opportunities here over the next year or so to recraft some language. At this point, the end goal of what that looks like is still very much up for discussion and something we're hoping can get decided. Like we're hoping that myself or the representatives from each membership council can come back and kind of get feedback, report on where we are over the next year or so. But it could end up that we each all maintain our separate charters that we each have, and we just start working together on amending and changing those so we can be consistent where it makes sense, where we're all functionally operating the same way, and just keeping that language the same. Or it could be something where we look at, there's one charter that governs all of us, and how do we, you know, update and maintain that. I wanted to share out today, and I really appreciate the time because I know there's been a lot of different discussions. So I wanted to share with you all where this effort has been. Thank everybody for the support. Invite, like, hey, if you have questions, if you want to participate, if you're interested in like the next step of this, which is starting to try and look at, okay, we do want to look at, should everybody have the option for a secretary or something like that? You want to start looking at crafting that language and participating in that. I want to put my contact information out there. If you hear anything, you're like, hey, I heard we're looking at this, or I have questions about that. I also wanted to take an opportunity to answer any questions, talk about any concerns. I know every membership council has things that they're passionate about, that are important to them, that are unique to them, and we really want to maintain that too through this effort. Don't want to lose any of that. So I think it's important to come back and talk with everybody. And I talked with building last week, as was mentioned, and I'll be going to each of the membership councils to kind of share this out. And hopefully in Tampa, we'll have an opportunity to talk about this more too. So thank you so much for the platform. Did anybody have any questions, concerns, thoughts? Or Christine and Tim, you've been kind of updated before about this and saw the building membership. Anything you'd like me to share out that I haven't?
I don't see any hands raised. I guess the only comment that I could probably share, a question I could ask now is, I don't know if there is any kind of comparison document of, if the efforts of putting all the charters out on a table say, and then what is consistent and what is different. And so that is a little bit more comprehensive to help us understand what is similar and what is different. And I'm sure, that's coming. I don't know if that has already happened in order to prepare the overview sheet that you prepared. So just something that we would be very interested in understanding what is similar and what is different to kind of how we do things. I think there's certainly some benefit in reviewing the charters to update where they need to be updated. And I know that it can lend to a lot of inconsistencies when we don't have that, and then there's confusion. So I do appreciate that effort to try to make things a little bit more consistent. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens as a result of the board meeting, and see what kind of steps would be taken. And then hopefully we'll be able to have some kind of, if we have an opportunity to at least have a short meeting or get some dialogue going in October, that'd be great too. So again, any questions for Allison at this point?
Great.
Don't see any. Allison?
Well, I just wanted to say thanks for everybody's time then. I'm not seeing any. So my email is in the chat for anybody who wants to reach out if you do have questions, or if you do think like, hey, I've noticed this or I have concerns about this, please don't hesitate to share. I think this is a really, and Christine, to your point, I think that's a good point. We started that comparison effort and we had a pretty tight timeline and asked to get this together. So I think we are going to return to looking at like, hey, this language is distinctly different and we should spend some time on that. This language is distinctly different for a very clear purpose. Let's make sure we maintain that. So I really appreciate that, and we'll make sure we share any of those efforts out.
Okay, thank you. And for everyone on FSMC, you can always also reach out to Tim and I and see if maybe we had some additional information as time goes on. So thank you, Allison, again for coming on today. We appreciate your time. All right, moving on. Next meeting, as was alluded to earlier, we are not going to have an August meeting. We'll have a nice summer break for August, and we'll get back to it on September 21st. That will be virtual. Our October 11th in-person meeting in St. Louis. We will not have a separate monthly meeting on the third Thursday in October. Our in-person meeting will count for the October meeting. So our next virtual meeting will be on November 16th. So with that, go to the order and questions and comments from the audience. This is an opportunity for anyone that's on the call to ask any questions, make any statements, inquire about anything that you might be interested to know. If you are, please put a hand raise up in next to your name, and I'll call on you, and you can make your statement or ask your question. So I'm looking for hands raised. Doug Nelson. Hi, Doug.
Hello, everybody. Just thought I'd double check. I think from Carl's email, it said that we get 2 nights of attendance covered by the ICC for the in-person at the annual general meeting. And then it sounds like it's that would be travel dates on the 9th and then departing on the 11th after meetings. Is that kind of what Carl, you would suggest, or anybody else is kind of leaning towards? Just thought I'd check since everybody's here.
Yeah, I think the right answer there from the staff perspective for you, Doug, is that the group is encouraged to attend the entire conference. In terms of what the ICC is able to underwrite for governing committee members to attend are those 2 nights. And, as we've always done, particularly I use Christine as an example since she comes from the San Francisco Bay Area to join us at all of these meetings that we've done on the East Coast over the last few years. I've been very willing and able to work with our folks to be able to extend a night or 2, depending on what travel looks like. And I know you're in a similar situation. So, the answer is anyone on this call, of course, but particularly our governing committee members are invited to join us for the entire annual conference and expo in St. Louis this year. If you're able to join us, but the nights that you'd be able to come would be obviously if you're only able to budget for just the 2 nights that are underwritten, it would be the night before our meeting and then going back out to either the day of our meeting or the morning right after. So if there are any questions on that, or folks have some special circumstances in terms of travel logistics, again, happy to help with those, and please submit those directly to me with a copy to Christine and Tim.
And I would also add, there are events prior to our meetings, like the ICC board meeting, the expo, some things that I would suggest that you look at the entire conference schedule and see what might work for you. Good question, though.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? I'm not seeing anyone. Last chance. All right. With that, thank you very much for being on the call today and all of your input and information. I am looking for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn. Nelson.
Great.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Enjoy your August, and we'll catch up again in September.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.